Hey Adventures, today is going to be another book review. This is for The Winter King by Christine Cohen. This is not the same book as The Winter King by Bernard Cornwell. I have not read that book yet. I want to, but I haven't read it yet. This one is a YA Christian fantasy story. It's also high fantasy and obviously several other genres or subgenres as well. But yeah, this is a much lesser known book, so I'll kind of, as I was writing the review, it kind of wrote itself out as with a little bit of a overview of the story or description of the story a little bit, so that's kind of incorporated into this one, although that's not usually what I do, but it is today. So, The Winter King is a fantasy story set in a world where winters are harsh and all people struggle, but of course some more so than others. With coughing sickness being a major threat and incurable, everyone is in constant fear of another outbreak. So yeah, we'll continue on from there. The Winter King is a god that comes every year to remind the people why he sent the winter, but also that there is still hope in that he has not abandoned them. The priests are the only ones able to speak directly to the Winter King, and they then relay his commands to the people. Things are not all what they seem though, and the Winter King seems to be contrary in many ways to his own teachings. There's quite a bit of mystery and intrigue in this story. The characters are all well defined and the world is very interesting. So that's kind of the premise of this story, is that there's this Winter King that during the winter he comes back to this village in order to remind them that he's still there and that he's still there to give them hope and to remind them of why there is winter, which you learn more about that as the story progresses, and I can't really get into it because of spoilers. But that's kind of the premise and setup of this story, and it leads to very much an intrigue, a mystery story, discovering what's going on in this village, as well as what winter means and why it's so harsh and why coughing sickness is such an issue and all these kind of things. You learn more about that as the story progresses. This is a Christian fantasy story, but though there is a good deal of allegory in it, it is far more subtle in many ways than something like Narnia. And that's not to say that I dislike Narnia or anything like that. I actually really love Narnia and the many different things that it is able to do with that series. But I can really appreciate the more subtle weaving in of Christian themes and Christian allegory into a story in the way that this was done. It's not completely subtle, like you'll miss it if you're not paying attention. It's still there very much so, but it's far more subtle than Narnia, which isn't saying a whole lot, I guess. There were a ton of great themes in this book, but what I enjoyed most, other than Christian themes, I enjoyed that, yes, but what I enjoyed most about this story was the tropes that it played with. There are things like harsh winters, which I already mentioned, people having to fend for themselves in order to survive, magical creatures, off-limits woodlands, stuff like that, and many, many more that are a lot more spoilery, so I can't really get into them. But there's just a lot of these tropes, common fantasy tropes, common story tropes even, that I really love, and I don't think there was a fantasy trope that I disliked in this story. All of them were ones that I liked, and the execution of them wasn't always phenomenal. It wasn't always the best part about it, but it was rarely bad. I enjoyed the execution the majority of the time. And so that was definitely by far my favorite part of this book. My least favorite thing was probably the writing style. I'm not trying to say that the writing style was bad, it's just that I don't love this specific writing style that this book was written in. It doesn't have to do with POV or anything like that. It's just the way that it's written. It's very much a Christian YA fantasy story, and that's not my favorite writing style, but it's not bad. I can't say that it's bad because it works, and there's tons and tons of stories told with that style, and tons of people love them. So it's not that it's bad, it's just it doesn't perfectly resonate with me very much. Overall, this was a really solid read, and one that I'd recommend if it sounds interesting and if you enjoy the Christian or the YA Christian fantasy genre. It fits into that genre very well, but I also think that it tells the story really well, better than some others that I've seen within this genre, and I really enjoyed it quite a bit. It's not my favorite book by any means, but I really enjoyed it probably as much as I could have without me being the specific targeted audience that it was written for. So that is my review for The Winter King by Christine Cohen. Please like and Please like and comment and subscribe if you haven't already. We post videos every Monday and Thursday. We have our social medias linked in the description down below. Thanks for watching. Stay warm.